Hey, happy holidays and welcome to Scoobytopia. Back in October, we looked at a classic Halloween episode of the new Scooby-Doo Mysteries, so I thought it only made sense to visit the classic Christmas episode, which is also the 13th overall and series finale episode. Originally airing December 1st, 1984, the Nutcracker Scoob has since been released many times and stayed in circulation, unlike the previous episode. While you can find the entire series streaming for now on Tubi and in a few locations on Boomerang, the series beyond random episode appearances on compilation DVDs is otherwise not in regular circulation, as we discussed before. This episode, however, is still kept in such circulation that it breaks free from that particular series curse.
Hi, we're Santa's elves.
It's Scooby-Doo! Everyone's favorite top dog is back with an all-new Christmas adventure. A Nutcracker Scoob for only $12.98.
In 1996, the year I was born, it was released in the same Turner Entertainment video line as the Halloween episode, which was how many 90s kids got to experience and grew up with it outside of reruns. A few years later, in 2002, Warner Brothers released the episode in the compilation VHS and DVD Winter Wonder Dog.
Scooby-Doo, Shaggy, Scrappy, and the whole mystery gang bundle up to enjoy 4 deep freeze mysteries.
Scooby's frozen solid.
In Scooby-Doo Winter Wonder Dog.
This VHS was actually how I grew up with the episode, with it being the first episode on the tape, so the cover art especially is very nostalgic.
The DVD includes lots of fun extras, including a cool Scooby-Doo challenge, 2 music videos, and much more.
I think these clues are finally beginning to add up.
To the perfect holiday gift for your family from you-know-who.
Like it's Scooby-Doo Winter Wonder Dog, coming on DVD and video just in time for the holidays. Scooby-Dooby-Doo!
A decade later in 2012, Warner would release the episode again in the compilation DVD 13 Spooky Tales, Holiday Chills and Thrills, where it was included with 11 other episodes. This episode was counted as 2, hence the 13, and of course, any compilation sets that include one or both of those. As much of a classic as the Halloween special was, it's obvious already from the comments on that one that this is even more widely seen and beloved, because Warner made sure we all had the chance to grow up with this one. A lot of people probably don't even know or recognize it's technically from the most obscure Scooby series because it's so often included with the more recognizable episodes and shows. This also probably helps distract from the fact that Velma is missing from the episode. This of course being the era where she and Fred were relegated to occasional guest appearances at best. They both made it into the Halloween episode we checked out, but she wasn't so lucky as to be invited back for this party. Though with the voice actor she had at the time being questionable at best, as we've seen, that might have been for the best. As for Fred, this would actually be his final appearance until he finally reappeared in Zombie Island 14 years later. Yes, 14 years later.
You are so corny.
Co-written by Tom Ruegger, who you might know as the creator of A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, or for his work as a story editor on many Scooby episodes in the 80s in general, and Charles M. Howell, who also had his hands all over writing many of the era. Let's take a look at the story here so we can unbox what made this one such a lovable holiday classic. For some reason, maybe just for the holidays, the gang are visiting a children's home and helping out with a Christmas pageant. Everyone sings a special version of Deck the Halls while preparing, even Scooby and Shaggy joining. Though maybe they shouldn't. We meet Tiny Tina, one of the children living here, who especially loves Scooby. We then are introduced to the caretaker, Mrs. Featherwig, clearly named after Mr. Fezziwig from Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, just as Tina is a reference to Tiny Tim. She thanks them and Fred shows off the Nutcracker, an important part of the pageant show as the centerpiece of the Nutcracker suite. Just as Tina puts it on the tree, a shrill voice rings out revealing Winslow Nickleby, the Ebenezer Scrooge character of the story, whose name is a reference to Nicholas Nickleby, another Dickens novel. Shout out to the Dickens aficionados watching. Mr. Nickleby reveals he's going to buy back the home, returning it to his family today. Tiny Tina points out it's Christmas Eve, but he simply gives her the old bah humbug. His lawyer says they'll pay $5,000, as if that's hardly enough, and Mrs. Featherwig insists they aren't selling. Scrappy proceeds to assault Nickleby's cat Snowball, throwing he and the boys out of the building, and while he simply leaves angry, they're lucky he didn't sue them for this and get the building back that way. The gang get everyone focused back on the show they're performing, and just like for Halloween, Scrappy has big ideas for his exciting costume, just to get stuck in a tutu, an unfortunate running gag in the series for him. Fred directs Shaggy, playing Scrooge, and Scooby as the ghost of Christmas past, but Scooby keeps missing his cue, when suddenly something spookier happens. As Scooby points out it's not him, the spirit reveals it's the ghost of Christmas Never, as they make a break for it.
Hey, I thought the show must go on.
Yeah, but without us!
As they race into the snow to hide, the trio return dressed as elves.
You better not pout, you better not cry, you better not shout, we're telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town.
They push the creep down the hill until it crashes, and they run away again while just missing the ghost heading inside. The boys do not want to go back in, but Daphne, being team leader in this era, enforces her law. By the time they make it in, though, the entire place is trashed. Daphne finds a lapel pin with Nickleby's WN initials, and it seems clear who's responsible, so she makes the choice to go pay him a visit, with the boys being talked into coming with the promise of cookies waiting for them there. Scooby picks up the horse and throws everyone into the sleigh so they can get there as soon as possible. Nickleby's kindly cook Mrs. Muffin Stuffer, that sure is a name, provides the 9 dozen cookies as promised when Nickleby's French-accented maid, Nanette Mazette, pops out. Dusting everyone, she warns them that he's plotting something evil in the library, so Fred assures her they'll check it out. The boys are a little busy baking extra cookies though. Nickleby's lawyer, reading his uncle's will, reveals a priceless emerald is hidden in the home, but Nickleby is certain everyone will be out of the place soon when his friend is done. The gang are certain he's working with a ghost, and Scrappy carries the boys away to check out the will. Disguised as Cockney-accented chimney sweeps, they get inside and fill the room with soot while Scrappy gets a picture of the will so they can escape. Using Scrappy's microscope for the fine print, they find the riddle.
On Christmas Eve, your goal's not far. The emerald rests in the pageant star.
Fred realizes it must be the pageant star which Daphne remembers seeing in the attic, so they head up to the eerie area and open the cupboard, only to find the ghost. The boys run out the window, forgetting where they were.
It's frosty out here. Out here? Oh no! Help!
The ghost laughs victoriously as we hit the brake.
Creatures in the snow.
Oh no!
Monsters in a sleigh. O'er the fields we go, screaming all the way. Velma is so smart.
I found something.
I'm always in a fog. You are simply Scooby-Doo, my winter wonder dog.
Scooby and Shaggy hang onto the ledge in tears until Shaggy breaks out into nervous laughter, and Scrappy manages to steal back the star from the ghost. Unfortunately, he makes a break for it out the window and into Scooby's hand, weighing them down just enough for the railing to break. They bounce down the trees and into the chimney where the ghost is waiting. However, it gets a shock, and Scooby Claus comes down with his elves instead. They tell it the guy at the star, trapping it in the bag, but as they walk off to show the others, it seems a hole has ripped. Though the ghost escaped, they got the star and take a look inside. However, it's empty, and Mr. Nickleby is back. This time thanks to his friend, he's back to take the home for good. Turns out his friend is actually the city building inspector and not the ghost. Thanks to him, the building is condemned and they have to be out by tomorrow morning and sell it to him. However, Daphne reminds them they can't ruin the show for the kids, so they get back to work. Nanette dusts off the guests, and to everyone's shock, Mr. Nickleby arrives. Tiny Tina goes up to her entrance while Shaggy and Scrappy are hoisted up, and Fred introduces the show. The boys just keep ramming into each other, but at least Scooby majestically drops down to turn the frog into the Nutcracker, played by Fred. One guest remarks that he's the star, which gives Nickleby the realization that the emerald is actually in the Nutcracker.
No, I'm a star! Please, I'm a star!
He pushes past Daphne to grab him, ripping up his costume as the boys are in shambles despite Daphne's best efforts. Fred doesn't have it, the rope breaks, the boys fall, and Snowball is tossed up too high to get down. Luckily for him, Tiny Tina is right there waiting for her cue and gets him back safely down, forcing Nickleby to not be so harsh as the curtains close. He explains himself and Daphne realizes it must be the antique Nutcracker from before, just an earshot of the ghost. It runs in and nabs it off the tree, escaping by sleigh, and the gang get on skis to follow along with Nickleby and Tina joining the chase. A long battle to get through the snow ensues, but Scooby and Shaggy manage to get in front of the ghost, now being chased instead by it, and Nickleby's carriage does not quite fare so well at the slope. The ghost horse ends up on top of the boys, which would be a lot more deadly in reality, and Daphne has Scooby stop them, which just ends up sending them through the air with the boys now riding the horse. But it allows them to stop it and send the ghost flying. Scrappy gets the Nutcracker and reveals the emerald was hiding in his nuts all along, and Daphne unmasks the ghost, revealing Nanette.
Oui, with that emerald, it would have been Christmas every day.
Somehow, there's already a cop car to take her away, not sure how, but anyway. The next morning, they go over everything. Of course, Nanette overheard her boss and wanted the emerald for herself, but as for the pin, the initials WN for Winslow Nickleby were actually NM for Nanette Musette. Suddenly, Nickleby bursts in, wishing everyone a Merry Christmas and bearing gifts. Tiny Tina saving Snowball gave him a change of heart, and he tears up the document condemning the home. And the biggest gift of all for Tina, she gets Scooby-Doo himself, though hopefully not permanently. And that's the Nutcracker Scoob. It's no surprise this one hits the Christmas sweet spots enough to have stuck around so long. The Nutcracker is a certified staple for the season as much as a Christmas Carol. Hell, Netflix just gave us another Christmas Carol film this month, and people are simping over that Scrooge. Combining the theming, music, and visuals of both just ensures you're getting exactly what you want out of a Scooby-Doo Christmas special. And with this being the first ever to be made, it did everything right. The new Scooby-Doo mystery seems to be considered one of the lesser series by fans, and it's certainly the least recognized, but it seems most can agree this particular episode of the series was a winner. The mystery, IMO, isn't too obvious, is well set up, and is fun to see play out in the style of Carol. I especially enjoy the costumes like the elves and Scooby Claws. The version of Deck the Halls at the start is also a really fun surprise. The Ghost of Christmas Never's design is memorable enough, just a classic cloak figure is sometimes enough to be scary. Maybe not the most imaginative, but appropriate for the gimmick of Carol ghosts. And did Nanette really do anything too terrible? She wasn't actually trying to shut down the home herself, she just wanted the Emerald to be rich and free of her horrible boss using his own heirloom. If anything, she should get extra compensation at least. And speaking of, what even happened to the Emerald? Who got to keep it? After Scrappy found it, they never bring it up again. Did the home get to keep it and put into their supplies financially? Didn't they just give it to Nickelby? He seemed to not care very much anymore at the end. Considering that was the thing the whole episode was spent chasing after, it's kind of weird to just forget about it at the end. Oh well, look at the funny boys in tutus. Even with that, this is clearly an important part of every Scooby fan's Christmas watch list. I'm glad we could take a look at it together this year. If you celebrate it, Merry Christmas! Obviously this is the final video of the year, so I'll see you again next year in 2023. Consider this a season finale, from Dynamite to here. When the next season starts, I don't know yet. I think I need more time between videos to relax and have a life again, so things might not be as quickly churned out next year. I'm a one-person team after all. Stay tuned and subscribe if you haven't so you don't miss any of them. Like this video too because the algorithm is desperate to be fed. Follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, TikTok, etc. if you want, and while you wait for the next one, you can make sure you're caught up on every past episode. After all, this is the 19th full episode in the Scoobytopia series in addition to all the bonus videos this year. I hope you continue to tune into the ideas I want to explore with you in the coming season, because I really do love what I do here, and I hope you have a happy new year as well. Until next time, bye!